All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome this afternoon, or maybe it's evening. I don't know if 5:30 is technically afternoon or evening, but I'm Chimoge, and this is Chimoge's Comments America. Please, you come onto the stream. Please like the video and share with other people you know. And please, if you're watching this, as a recording in the future, hello, people from the future. Please also do the same with the video you're watching, and do this regardless of which platform you're watching on as well. Because going live on YouTube right now, this video is going to be going out on multiple different platforms. So a lot of you will see this later on Facebook, Rumble, Instagram, etc. So please, wherever you are, like and share the video. Please also subscribe to the channel or follow, again, whichever platform you're on. Today, I'm going to be doing a live commentary action. As usual, I'm in the commentary action closet, get to do what the closet was named for. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that live reacting to a video clip from MSNBC's YouTube channel. But before I do that, as usual, I'm going to wait a little bit to give more people time to come on the stream. I'm going to wait either 4 minutes or until I get 4 likes. I'm going to wait either 4 minutes or until I get 4 likes, whichever comes first. So see you then. All right. 4 minutes are up. 4 minutes are up. Again, thank you for joining me. Please like the video and share it with people you know. But I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to be reacting to a video off of MSNBC's YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see it. And FYI, I've not seen this video before, so it's a live reaction. Okay. I'm reacting to this video. It's called Young Black Voters Talk Politics Ahead of November's Midterms. So yeah, I'm just gonna react and give my take on it. Okay.
MSNBC's Tremaine Lee traveled to Atlanta as part of an upcoming tour of HBCUs across the South to talk with students about the issues they care about most and which candidates might get their votes in 2022 and 20.
All right, let me stop it right there. Already, the fact that they're only going to HBCUs to try and find out what young Black voters want, that's going to vastly skew their sample size. Again, there's no perfect sample, but you know, we got to keep in mind that most Black people in America don't even go to college, right? So yeah, I don't think most ever even enroll. Maybe well, I should say most Black people have not gone to college. Perhaps if you're looking at people who are currently college age, maybe over 50% now enroll, but I don't think 50% are currently in college because obviously there's a high dropout rate, and they're not all HBCUs either, even though sure Black college students will be disproportionately at HBCUs. So again, already a skewed sample size. Let's go.
2024. Joining me now to share a bit about what they had to say is Tremaine Lee, MSNBC correspondent and host of the podcast Into America. Tremaine, thank you for coming back to the back end of the Sunday show after appearing in the front end in the special. What was the most surprising thing you learned after talking to those three students this week?
I'll tell you what, Jonathan, they were
also like, I mean, they're basically just doing entertainment at this point. You can't talk to three people and use that to judge like how a whole like large group of people thinks. I mean, unless the rest of your judgment is based on intuition, which is not necessarily bad. Intuition is a valuable source of knowledge, but you can't claim that the, I guess, hard research you've done is extensive. You only talk to three people. That's kind of silly, but this is entertainment, I guess, as well as propaganda.
Number of interesting points that these young people made. I think on one hand, it was amazing to see how engaged they actually are and excited about participating in the process and talking to their friends and family about policy issues that matter to them most. But even though they're on fire in terms of the policy, it was very interesting how kind of lukewarm and tepid they were actually about this administration and the prospect of Joe Biden running for president again. They believe in the democratic process. They believe that he's done some great work that he hasn't gotten credit for. But at the same token, they're a little lukewarm. Let's take a listen. Should Joe Biden run for office again? Should he run for a second term?
No.
Okay. No.
If it's against Donald Trump, yes. When it comes to voting for president, it's usually the lesser of two evils. And I would like for someone just brand spanking new, preferably younger, because I feel like it's a lot of old people in charge.
I'm not anti-Joe Biden.
No, right, Joe.
If it comes down to it, if it comes down to it, I'm not going to sit up there and turn my nose back.
No.
I'll vote for him if I have to, but I don't want to, right?
I'm not going to turn my nose up at him. I don't think that he's like the future solution. I don't think he's the direction that the Democratic Party should go, but I think if that's what's required, if he's the man for the moment, then sure.
Lesser of two evils.
If the Republican Party was to make a genuine good faith appeal to Black voters, especially among younger Black voters, could they get more? Well, I see your face.
I don't think that the past 6 years of Republican legislature and Republican effort.
All right, I gotta stop you. I'm sorry. That bit about Niggas voting for the Republic. I mean, y'all know me. One of my big things is that we shouldn't vote for Democrats, but you know, I'm never gonna tell you to vote for Republicans. That's just it's kind of silly. I'm sorry in general. It's kind of silly in general, but at least someone who's voting for a Republican, a black person, even though there are a lot of problems going into that, and especially with all due respect to black Republicans, I wonder about your mental state. Particularly if you're an enthusiastic Republican. I mean, if you just like, oh, I think the Republican is a little less worse than the Democrat, hold my nose, vote for him. Okay, I guess you're okay. I disagree, but you're okay. But if you're like a stan, something wrong with you. I'm sorry, but with that being said, it's not as much of a political misstep as voting Democrat as a black person currently, just because of the way the political chessboard is positioned, so to speak, right? We don't really have leverage with the Republicans. We have leverage with the Democrats. So voting for the Democrats when they haven't done anything for us is a misuse of leverage. Whereas, I mean, it doesn't really matter what you do with the Republicans so much. But thinking the Republican Party is gonna make a serious appeal to black people, because they made kind of stupid ones under Trump, but thinking they're going to make a serious appeal to black people is silly, because that goes against the core of who they are. They're just a white radical integrationist and white nationalist party. That's what it is. So they're not about including large numbers of black people. So I just had to laugh, because that's the idea of young black people voting for the Republican Party in droves is just hilarious. But yeah, just to also comment on the rest of what they said so far, I think clearly, even though these people are still wrongly, in my opinion, invested in voting for the Democrats, and kind of don't necessarily seem to have a deeper analysis on what's going on. I'm not saying they're stupid, but no one's perfect, right? It looks like they have some stuff to iron out here. But clearly, you can see the lack of enthusiasm for Biden, because he's not done basically anything positive for the black community. So that is what it is. Let's continue.
Have been in the advantage of black people, or have been with black people in mind. I don't think there is a light switch that can be turned on for the Republican Party that can kind of get all the black people together and come out to vote. I don't see that as being possible. I don't think that the Republicans in the past 6 years of, courting white voters, courting white supremacists, kind of courting that anti-black rhetoric is possible. I don't see Make America Great Again as a pro-black slogan.
I do think that if local representatives come with real issues that might be more moderate, they could potentially sway the black vote. There's a lot of black people in this country who are especially older who are moderates. They wouldn't consider themselves Democrats nor Republicans. So I think that if Republicans really came in a moderate way, they could.
Should black folks be looking beyond Republican and Democrat for something more, something different?
I love the idea of being in a third party and, being in the Green Party or being a single issue voter, but that's not realistic.
We need change now. So we don't have time to wait. There's no time to be patient and wait for that third party.
There's not enough black people, there's not enough Latino people of color, that if we created our own third party, we would get significant representation.
So I think we have to kind of vote within our best interest, whether that's, voting blue down the ballot, or maybe there's a Republican local candidate that you can support. Our rights and our freedoms and our protections are at the ballot every year.
Right.
So I don't think we really have the luxury of, third party voting, because our vote is so important.
Jonathan, one thing that...
Okay, I'll just pause it there before the last part of the video. And I'll probably just let that rock and then give my final thoughts. But obviously they gave their thoughts on third party voting there, and they don't seem too deeply opposed to it. It's not like in their bones they set against third party voting. But the thing they said across the board, all three of them, was that essentially, we're in such a dire state as black people who live in America, that we can't possibly wait for a third party or any other alternative other than voting Democrat. So even though we don't like it, we just have to vote Democrat, because they give us the best chance of protecting our rights. And this is the kind of, with all due respect to those people, they sound very intelligent. They have time to develop. But with all due respect to those people, I think that's the kind of flawed analysis that actually has so many Black voters trapped, because people are thinking about things beginning from the premise that the Democratic Party is actually doing positive things for them, or actually has a high potential to do positive things for them in the near future, without us doing something that hurts the Democratic agenda. And that's obviously deeply flawed analysis, right? The Democrats, in all their time in power, have never done anything to help Black people systemically, barely done anything to help Black people, even in a non-systemic fashion. And then they just continue to do things that actively harm Black people, both in the United States and globally. Of course, if you hurt, Black people globally, you hurt them in the US, and to a large extent, vice versa, right? So it doesn't make sense to continue voting for the Democrats, because they're not actually protecting you, right? They're not actually doing anything for you every time they're on the ballot. And that the young man there said that, I said young man, that guy's probably like within 4 years of me or less. Kind of funny. Sound like an old guy. It's funny because people tell me I look like a grandpa with his beard. Maybe I'm starting to think like a grandpa. But anyway, but the brother there, he said that our rights are at the ballot every election, and I would challenge that assumption in the sense that, like, our rights are never on the table in a real way. No one is actually planning to protect our rights, and no one is actively doing it. So there's not a person or a faction that's currently running or active that you could vote for that tangibly increases the odds of you, protecting your rights, right? So the best thing to do is we have to take a radically new action, voting. And what that means essentially is, and I'm going to do a video breaking this down more depth, but essentially you have to not vote for Democrats, whatever you do. Again, don't recommend you vote Republican. Y'all saw me laughing earlier. That's silly. No offense to the Black Republicans. That's pretty silly. But if you don't vote for the Democrats, right, you highly increase the likelihood, in many cases, you even guarantee that they lose. And when you've done that and exercise that leverage over them because of their dependence on the Black vote, you maximize the odds that you could get something positive out of the Democratic Party. It's not a guarantee. There's a number of other things they could do to get around that, but you maximize your odds. So that's just the most efficient use of your leverage. And in order to use our leverage like that, we have to get out of this mental trap that, we're in, that our situation is such that if we don't vote Democrat, we're going to perish tomorrow. That's not what's going on. But anyway, let's finish the video.
That is clear is that for these young voters, the lesser of two evils is simply just not enough. And so if the Democratic Party especially doesn't recognize and listen to their voices, they can't then later on point the blame for young Black folks for not showing up. So hopefully folks are listening, but these young folks, they know what they want and they're here to try to get it.
And and Tremaine, what I found interesting in that conversation, anyone who knows me knows that I'm going to disagree with them on the whole lesser of two evils thing, But the thing that jumps out at me the most is how pragmatic they are. They're like, if it's Donald Trump again, Joe Biden definitely has to run. They were also making it very clear, even though they would like someone younger, it's not because they don't like Joe Biden.
That's right. There's not this idea of this young voter who's idealistic and it doesn't matter, the realities. They want this pie in the sky. They are thinking through these policies, but also political strategy and who can best go against Donald Trump if that next candidate is Donald Trump. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's at the end of the video. Okay, they have a long. Oh God. All right, they have a pretty long outro there. Let me stop sharing my screen. So anyway, yeah, that's the end of the video. Again, thanks for rocking with me so far. Let me just give my final takes, and then we'll wrap up. So about that end part of the video, what Tremaine Lee was saying was that essentially, in his opinion, if the Democrats don't actually do more to tangibly help the Black community, they're at risk of losing a lot of these young voters because they're already ambivalent. And I think he's right about that, right? And again, I don't know Tremaine Lee personally. I haven't heard him speak in depth about the ins and outs of his political philosophy. But based on that, it seems his aim is essentially to improve the Democratic Party, right? Which again I think is how should I say it? I don't think you're gonna improve the Democratic Party by simply pleading to them, right? I think there's more you'd have to do. But nonetheless, that seems to be his aim. And he could be earnest and a good person in doing that at heart. But what I really want to highlight about that is that the fact that MSNBC, which is of course the primary Democratic propaganda organ, the fact that they're running that segment means that the Democratic higher ups, are feeling that anxiety as well. And with this segment, they probably want to at least impart, kind of pander to, and to some extent deceive Black voters. Because again, I don't think their agenda is necessarily exactly the same as everyone who works for them, which is why I think someone like Tremaine Lee, my gut tells me, doesn't necessarily approve of what they're doing, but is just rocking with them because he thinks that's best, something like that. But anyway, right, they want to put that segment out there so that Black voters think, especially young Black voters think, okay, these people hear us, they know our concerns, maybe they are good, let's vote for them. But of course, that's just another elaborate deception tactic, because they'll just do a bait and switch there. And there's something interesting Jonathan Capehart said there, because he was saying that, it's not that these young voters don't like Biden, they just want someone younger. They're being pragmatic. And, I think he's doing a spin job there, because clearly those voters, those young voters made it clear that they're not fans of Joe Biden, right? They don't like him, right? And him being too old in their eyes is one of the reasons why, right? He's doing a spin job there. Again, just more propaganda, because clearly, Black people in general, and especially young Black people, are not enthusiastic about Joe Biden as president. There's no getting around that, even though, unless drastic measures are taken, most of them will still vote for Joe Biden the next election. It's not out of enthusiasm. It's very much a hold your nose vote. I think that's also why Jonathan Capehart praised their pragmatism, right? Because he's saying, even what he's implicitly saying is that even though they've identified all these flaws with Biden, they've realized that he's the lesser of two evils. So pragmatically, they decide to vote for him. And well done, guys, for that, right? So again, that's more of the spin job and the deception, because if you actually look at it, Joe Biden as an individual is not necessarily less bad than Trump. And I've already covered that before. I made a whole video essay on that. I could even put that in the chat for those of you who haven't seen it. It's also on my channel. Second. Sorry. Yeah, I made this around election time. my first ever video essay, kind of rough. Still the only one, even though I have more planned. But you know, it's a good watch. It's good info in there. Yeah, so as I was saying, Joe Biden is an individual. When you just look at the things he's done personally while he was in government, things he said, the sentiments he seems to believe in, it's not necessarily less bad than Trump. I think you can sit here and argue for hours who was worse, Biden or Trump. But the fact that you can do that, like reasonable people could disagree, shows that they're very close in terms of overall badness. But then even beyond that, the factions they represent are not that different in terms of their malice towards Black people, right? And I think that's even more crucial because we have to get out of this entire paradigm of looking at politicians just as individuals, and instead we need to look at the groups they represent. Because at the end of the day, politicians don't do things by themselves. They're simply representatives of a group interest. That's the only way they get into power. And when you look at the different factions they represent, the faction Joe Biden is representing is not necessarily better at all than the faction Trump is representing. So we got to be clear on that. But yeah, overall, my thoughts on the video are that, you know, it highlighted some important issues. It highlighted the sentiments of, you know, many young Black voters out there. However, the sample size of young Black voters they were looking at was obviously too small. So I don't think it was comprehensive enough of a look at young Black voters and their attitudes towards Joe Biden and other politicians who could likely be running in upcoming elections, and the different parties as well. And then on top of that, MSNBC kind of arranged things in such a way to do a bit of a spin job and kind of deceive people. So, you know, like any bit of propaganda, you could learn something from it, but take what you hear in a video like that with a grain of salt. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it, and that's really all I got for today. A quicker live stream, that's okay. We don't always have to be here for 2 billion years. That was just a live commentary reaction you saw. For those of you who watch my other channel, Chimoge's Comment, you know about that segment I do. So also do it on Chimoge's Comments American. Did it live today. Did it live last week as well. So if no one here has a question for me or any comments, it doesn't look like anyone does, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. So again, thank you all for joining me. Please like the video, share it with people you know, and also subscribe to my channel if you're watching it on a platform other than YouTube, because many of you will be. Follow or subscribe, whatever the terminology is on that platform, but just make it so that you can see my videos consistently. If you're on YouTube, also tap the bell icon so that you get notifications whenever I have a new video out. Just so you know, on this channel, Chimoge's Comments America, I go live every Sunday. I try to do the lives at 4 p.m. Eastern time, although often it ends up being a bit later. Like today, I started more at like 5:30. But every Sunday, I'm going to go live on this channel. And then every Saturday, I go live on my other channel, Chimoge's Comments. So please also check that channel out as well. And as usual, also consider donating. The banner, donating to help support the channel. That helps a lot. At that link right there, https /linktree/OZBangUku donate. For those of you who don't know, OZBangUku is the name of my overall media company because I've various networks. Chimoge's Comments America is just one of those. But if you donate at that link, you know, you'll help this channel as well because, you know, I'll allocate all the funds I receive. But anyway, thank you so much. Hope to see you again here next week, and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.